This podcast is brought to you by Empowering Forward Momentum Coaching. Check us out at empoweringforwardmomentum.com. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Constructive Liberty Podcast. Today's Wednesday, February the 10th, 2021. Where were you today a year ago? By the way, this is episode number 25. I was going to continue our 5 pillars of an impactful life discussion that we've been talking about, and the topic today would have been on building strong and resilient relationships. But I'm going to push that back one more week in honor of a certain anniversary today. It is today, 1 year ago, nearly to the hour, that my life ended. The life of myself and my wife. It wasn't terribly traumatic at the time, but I think the long-term effects of that accident may have been or may become worse than the physical effects were immediately. But this is something that's difficult for me to talk about, but it is really good in that the coach that I'm working with on building my teen coaching business, her and I identified that I have a problem with suppressing emotions. I don't like to be emotional, to be vulnerable, because I don't know why that's so difficult for me to be vulnerable. I know a lot of people struggle with that, but I think I take that to a whole new level, is to just the instant an emotion or, I do not emote, or at least I try not to. So this is good for me to talk about. So 1 year ago today, my wife and I we took my wife's vehicle to the shop to get new tires on it. And we were driving home in my pickup, and it was raining, the roads were wet, and if you know the roads here in Kentucky, they have dips and bumps and grooves and all kinds of fun stuff to navigate. Well, we were going over a hill around a curve to the left, and we hit a dip in the road. And as we came out of that dip and were turning, it threw my back tires loose off the road. And so we started sliding. And I look up and there's a great big oil truck bearing down on us. So I tried to navigate the truck to the ditch instead of pull out of the turn. And what happened instead was we swung completely around, hit the bank on the left-hand side of the road, rolled over onto the driver's side of the truck, and we're sliding down the road straight at the oncoming oil truck. Thankfully, the driver was alert and awake, and he swerved over into our lane, just clipped the back end of the truck instead of coming through the bottom of the cab like I was expecting him to do. Anyway, he narrowly almost missed us. Somehow kept his truck on his wheels and navigated out back onto the road and came to a stop. Well, we came to a stop as well in the middle of the oncoming traffic lane. I immediately checked to make sure my wife was still alive, okay, and was trying to figure out how to get out of the pickup. Well, I stood up, and since her side was up in the air, I said, well, I need to roll her window down so that we can climb out and get away from this truck before somebody comes around the curve and hits us for real this time. Well, in the process of things, and this happened because my wife and I, neither one were wearing our seat belts. She had flipped around and kicked out the back window of the truck. And so that was how we managed to make our escape. Well, both of us were minimally injured. We have some residual joint and back pain from it, but nothing bad. A couple scratches and bruises, nothing long lasting. Not like it could have been. But I think the emotional, the mental effects of that accident are worse and longer lasting than any of the physical effects were. And the way that manifests most often is on rainy days or when we drive past that same spot on the road, which I do probably 4 times a week or more. I think about that every time. That affects my driving in so many different ways. And it also affects my wife's more passenger riding than driving. Like, she has a very difficult time being in the passenger seat, especially when I'm driving now, just because she is not in control and she feels out of control because of what we went through in that wreck. Unless you've ever been in an accident like that, you can't describe the feeling of it. Like, every time I replay that in my mind, I nearly break out into a cold sweat. Like, I lock up, I freeze. I don't know what it is. I always thought people were being sensational when they talk about things like that, but it is true. It's a mental block there. It's something that will forever be frozen there, and you can't change it. No matter how many times you replay it in your mind, you can't change the outcome of it. And the way that affects me as I drive is I often, even if the roads aren't wet, if I'm going around a curve, I can be going slow, but it really takes a lot of concentration to trust that the vehicle is going to stick to the road, to not panic and think that we're going to careen into oncoming traffic. Like, it's still very difficult for me. But I think the worst effects are, I don't know if I want to say. I liken it to, I don't know if you've ever watched the movie Inception, where they would connect themselves to a machine somehow, but they had this dream sharing technology where they could go into somebody's dream and time slowed down within the dream, but it was like they went to a deeper level. And they could go to a dream within a dream. Well, in the movie, I think they could go 3 levels deep in dreams in that movie. And the 4th level was one that you didn't go to because it was just a wasteland. It was something that you could spend hundreds of years there in the 4th dream level, and only a couple seconds would pass in actual reality. Well, the main character's wife in the movie had gone into that 4th level, and they had spent so much time in that 4th level that Ariadne, the main character's wife, forgot what reality was. She thought the dream was reality, and that reality was a dream, and her only way to escape the dream was to kill herself. And in the movie, she did end up killing herself, trying to escape to that 4th level of reality. And I don't want to say this out loud, but I can't help but think how much easier things would be if our accident had gone differently. If we had actually died in the accident. Like, I love life. I don't want to die yet. But I feel like sometimes that I'm stuck in that 4th dream level, like I'm not supposed to be here, and I don't know why I'm here, and there's something that I want to escape to, or it's hard to describe, hard to explain. I can't grasp it, but that's the only way I know how to even attempt to begin to explain how I feel or the emotion of it. And I'm not very good at emotions, like I said in the beginning. It's a struggle for me to access emotions or to allow them to display. So I don't know. I mean, I'm in no danger of doing anything irrational or rectifying what should have been a death experience. I'm not going to go there. No worries on that. So yeah, I just wanted to put this out for anybody who is feeling that, who is struggling with those thoughts and feelings like, I should have died. I shouldn't be here. I want to have died instead. If that's you, if you're feeling that, talk to somebody about it. Reach out, share it with somebody. Don't hold that inside. Don't keep that for yourself. Those are painful thoughts. They can become dangerous thoughts. But you don't have to go through that alone. If you are struggling with that, or you do feel those thoughts, and you have nobody else to talk to, reach out to me. I would be happy to talk with you, to walk through that with you. I still struggle with that. I know where you're at in that, wishing a situation would have gone differently and not understanding why it didn't. Like, why am I still here? Obviously, there's a reason why my wife and I did not die that day. God has a plan for us, but sometimes I struggle to see what that is. And that's hard. That's so hard. So I just want to leave that message with you. If you have had an experience similar to that, if you're struggling with, why am I still here? Know that God has a reason for you still being here. There is a reason, even if you can't see it. They say hindsight is 20/20. So down the road, you'll be able to look back and say, that was probably the reason why I was still here. Or you might never know the reason. You might never be able to see it. But if you continue to live impactfully, you will reach so many lives that you would not have touched had things gone differently at that life-altering event. Do good work.